What's up, Mooncutter Sportscast fans? Geoffrey Curry, as always, here to give you my rundown and the best sports talk possible. It is currently 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, January 27th. We are currently 2 days away from the AFC and NFC Championship games. We are one night away from the, honestly, might not be the biggest event in professional wrestling, but the most popular for sure, everyone's favorite time of year, the Royal Rumble, the kickoff to the road to WrestleMania. And we are closing in on the NHL All-Star break. So there's a lot going on, and I will actually give you guys, I'm not going to verbally go over it this week, but I will run a ticker at the bottom of the screen here until I get to more important factors for the NHL standings. And the first thing I want to discuss, because it's looking like it's been an insane season, an insane lead-in to the off-season for the NFL. So we're going to start with the segment that we had previously done on Sports Authority Podcast or Shock Sports Podcast, whichever one you wanted to call it. It was still Sports Authority while I was there, so. But I had called it, and I'm going to continue calling it here, the NFL Coaching Carousel. A lot has been going on already. There's been a few notable hires, a lot of interviews going on for the random teams across the league, starting with the Arizona Cardinals. They've been very busy looking for not only a new head coach, but a new general manager. And they have, they're currently sitting on their general manager search. They've got that one finished. They had interviewed the Bears assistant GM, Ian Cunningham, Cardinals VP of player personnel, Quentin Harris, Joe Horvitz, the director of player personnel for the Ravens, Jerry Reese, the Giants GM, former Giants GM, Cardinals VP of Pro Personnel, Adrian Wilson, and the guy that they ended up hiring from the Tennessee Titans Director of Player Personnel, Monty Ossenfort. For their head coach, they've had been looking to interview Frank Reich from the former Colts head coach, who I'll get to later as well, because he was hired elsewhere. They have an interview scheduled with DeMarco Ryans, the 49ers defensive coordinator. They have an interview scheduled with the former Saints head coach, Sean Payton. They have completed with Broncos defensive coordinator, Ajiro Evero, and with Brian Flores, the Steelers senior defensive assistant and linebackers coach. They've also completed an interview with Aaron Glenn, the Lions defensive coordinator. They'd also looked out to Dan Quinn, the Cowboys defensive coordinator, but he has chosen to stay with Dallas. So a lot going on there. The Falcons, looking for a defensive coordinator, have requested interviews with Ajiro Evero, again, the Broncos defensive coordinator. They've completed interviews with Vic Fangio, the former Broncos head coach, Brian Flores, who, as I mentioned, the Steelers defensive assistant and linebackers coach, Al Holcomb, who was the Panthers interim defensive coordinator, and they've ended up hiring Saints co-defensive coordinator and defensive line coach Ryan Nielsen for their new defensive coordinator. So a lot's gone there. The Ravens are looking for an offensive coordinator. They've requested an interview with Zach Robinson, the Rams pass game coordinator. That's still in limbo. They've already scheduled an interview with Justin Alton, the defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator for the Broncos. And they have already completed an interview with Chad O'Shea from the Browns. He is their wide receivers and pass game coordinator. The Carolina Panthers, looking for a defensive coordinator or head coach and defensive coordinator. They've requested interviews with Jared Mayo, the Patriots linebackers coach, and DeMeco Ryans, the 49ers defensive coach. They have reached out to Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Lions, but he's decided to stay there. They've completed interviews with Jim Caldwell, who is a former Lions and Colts head coach, Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator for the Bills, Asia Rivero, Mike Kafka, the Giants offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, the Cowboys offensive coordinator. They've already interviewed Sean Payton. They had 2 interviews with Steve Wilkes, who was their interim coach. They had an interview with Shane Steichen, the Eagles offensive coordinator, and they ended up hiring Frank Reich, the former Colts head coach. Defensive coordinator, they requested an interview with Chris Richards, the Saints defensive backs coach. So they've been busy. The Cleveland Browns, Sean Desai completed an interview for defensive coordinator. Brian Flores, Jim Schwartz, who they ended up hiring from the Titans. He was their senior defensive assistant. And Denner Wilson, the Eagles defensive pass game coordinator. The Broncos, we're just going to go straight. We're going to skip all the people that are being interviewed at this point, because I see I have some special guests waiting to come in here. So we'll just go through the hirings. Arizona, general manager Monty Ossenfort hired. Atlanta Falcons have hired Ryan Nielsen as their new defensive coordinator, coming from New Orleans as their assistant coach. Panthers, I just mentioned, hired Frank Reich. The Browns have hired Jim Schwartz as their new defensive coordinator. The Rams have hired Mike LaFleur, who just mutually parted ways with the Jets after 2 seasons. It's interesting to see what he's able to do with the Rams, who have a more established personnel. The Patriots have hired Bill O'Brien as their next offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. The Jets, after letting Mike LaFleur walk away, have brought in the former Broncos head coach, Nathaniel Hackett. That's quite a curious choice to me as a Jets fan, but I digress. I'm sure anything can be better than what we've gotten with Mike LaFleur. Tennessee Titans have hired Ron Carthian as their general manager. He was previously the 49ers director of player personnel. Now, since they're on deck at this point, before we jump into the highlight, I had said I was going to do the playoffs first. So let's bring on my 2 special guests for the week. 2 guys that I can't wait to get into the meat and potatoes of this episode with, because they are the 2 of the members of the, Pro Wrestling Fan, or let me bring this up before I butcher this. The Wrestling Fans Incite Podcast. We've got Carlos and Brian joining. How's it going today, guys?
Good. How you
what's
doing?
up, man? Thanks for having us.
Oh, for sure.
You cleaned up nice, Brian.
I had to put the nickname in there,
The hype.
The
I love
hype.
it.
You got to check out his tap out talk.
Now, I will say, when I found you guys on Twitter, I love the way you guys named it. Like, what was it? Wrestling Fans Incite, except Insight is not spelt the way I would have thought. Because usually when you're talking of a review show and whatnot, when you say Wrestling Insight, you're thinking it's spelt like knowledge, like premonition, whatever. You guys actually have it spelt the other way. Like, you're trying to provoke, incite a riot. I love it.
We got to give the props to our other co-host John. He's the one. Him and his brother started the site, and we just kind of got tagged along, just through a friendship that we formed on Twitter, and through our fandom of wrestling. They invited us both to be a part of it, so we're honored to be a part of it. And definitely the credit for that goes to John Hoppy.
Well, let John know that the podcast you guys were on tonight definitely appreciates his creativity.
Will do.
All right, so the divisional round, I'm going to say I went 2-2 for this one. I'm kind of disappointed in myself. We're going to start with one of the games that I actually called right, but the Jags and Chiefs. This game was a lot closer than most people would have thought it would have been. But just looking at the passing stats here, Trevor Lawrence, 24 for 39, 217 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, rushing touchdown for Travis Etienne, and a aerial touchdown from Christian Kirk. Their defense didn't really pick up any interceptions. And over to the Chiefs end, not only did Pat Mahomes go 22 for 30, picking up 195 yards and 2 touchdowns. Excuse me. But they let backup Chad Henne came in for a series while Mahomes was dealing with an ankle injury. And this is why you don't smoke, kids.
You made me want water. I'm like, I need some water now.
I got mine here.
There you go.
Rocking the monster.
I thought you could do a plug for Logan Paul right there, Brian.
Right?
I'm wondering if that name gets brought up later in the episode.
I think so. For mine, at least.
But Henne goes 5 for 7, 23 yards, 1 touchdown. No rushing touchdowns in this game, but 2 big ones from Travis Kelce and one from Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Okay, I did have the right first name. And a interception from Jalen Watson. Did you guys think this game was going to be more of a blowout than it was?
I honestly thought it was. The Jaguars, even though I was kind of cheering for them in my own way, I love the underdogs. I felt like this was definitely the Cinderella story of the NFL playoffs. And I was wanting to see how long that fairy tale could go for. And I was surprised that it did go to this tight. I thought it would be a little bit more of a point spread.
Okay. I can appreciate that. Carlos?
Oh, same thing. I thought it was going to be a blowout too, and we're here to talk about wrestling later. And speaking, deep down, I wanted the Jaguars to win. So, so the WWE had to give them that title belt when they won. So, deep down, I was hoping, man, that would just be the greatest thing ever. If they had to give that title belt to the Jaguars. But, I love a good Cinderella story. And it was funny because I was the week before when the Jags were down, when they were down, I think it was 20-0. I hit up Jeff Jarrett on Twitter and I was like, hey, just so Cody looks like he's a trade in that Trevor Lawrence jersey, and then ended up winning. So I'm like, oh, I'm kind of glad they're out too, so I didn't get any more slack from Jarrett. but I mean, again, I think especially being wrestling fans, I think we all like a good underdog, So I definitely thought it was gonna be more of a blowout, but I definitely appreciate the fact it was a closer matchup than we thought, and I definitely look forward to what the Jags do next year.
Definitely, Trevor Lawrence has definitely been developing well with that system.
Absolutely.
All right. We're going to jump into the next one, a game that was more of a blowout. One that I thought might have been closer. I actually had predicted damn it. Sorry. I had actually predicted this to go the other way. I thought this was the one that I thought was going to be the real Cinderella story. What a fool I look like now. But the Giants, Daniel Jones, 7-38 under the Eagles. Daniel Jones goes 15 for 27, 135 through the air. Nope touchdowns, 1 interception. Matt Breida does get a rushing touch score, which unfortunately was the entirety of the scoring for New York. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts goes 16 for 24, 154 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. But we also get 3 big rushing touchdowns. Boston Scott goes 6 for 32 with 1 touchdown. Jalen Hurts goes Damn it. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, you're good.
Jalen Hurts running it himself, 9 for 34 with the touchdown. And then Kenny Gainwell, 12 for 112 with a touchdown. Receiving touchdowns from Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith. Like, at what point were you guys watching this game thinking, all right, can we just let the bleeding stop?
Yeah.
I mean, I think early on for me, I work Sundays, so I'm always checking the scores, at work, unless, I'll come home for lunch and definitely turn on whenever game's on, but I'm usually at work those days. But I think you definitely want a mercy kill, but at the same time, I think a loss like this will make the Giants stronger in the end too. I think, humility is a good thing. And I think, it definitely could mercy kill. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't think anybody at the beginning of the year was picking the Giants to make the playoffs. So, they had a great season, bottom line.
Yeah, I agree with what Carlos is saying. It was definitely a good run for them. Going into this one, though, the Eagles are just such a well-oiled machine. And, they've got all three sides of the ball down, right? The offense, defense, and special teams. And they're going to be a tough team to really knock out of this whole contention this year.
Okay. I can respect those opinions. Looking forward to seeing what the Giants do in the offseason for sure. Moving on to the game that got canceled, where everybody was wondering what could have happened. Well, we finally got our answer. Bengals, as the third seed, defeat the second seed Bills 27-10. Joe Burrow goes 23 for 36, 242 with 2 touchdowns. Joe Mixon gets a rush in. The recipients of the 2 aerial bombs were Jamar Chase and Hayden Hurst. Cam Taylor gets a big interception. For the Bills, Josh Allen goes 25 for 42, 264 through the air, no touchdowns, 1 interception. But he did rush one in himself. And the only other scoring for them came off of the foot of Tyler Bass, who got a 25-yarder. I am so sorry. I don't know why I'm coughing so much.
Just don't pass out on us. We'll be good.
Oh, no, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. I did have a cold last weekend, so I think it might be just residual from that. Either that or it's flaring back up.
We're pretty low key guys. We cough and stuff on our podcast too. We don't. It's all good.
But what were your takeaways from this game?
Go ahead, Brian. Go first.
All right. Yeah. So me being an Ohio guy, right? So it's all Bengals, Bengals, Bengals right now. Even though I'm a Browns fan, I am cheering for the other Ohio team. I actually was a little worried going into this one, right? Because I really didn't know how it was going to end up. I was a little bit like, man, this could go either way because I believe both teams were pretty well built. And, I actually at one point started to steer towards the Bills myself. And I think I might have probably went more that route. But shame on me, right? Because the Bengals are the repeat AFC champions and from last year. And so I should have not doubted them. But I won't make that mistake twice. So.
This one shocked me too. I thought the Bills were going to ride the wave of playing for their fallen teammates. So I really honestly I saw them going all the way in the playoffs. I saw them even win the Super Bowl just because I thought they would take that emotion, and ride that to pull it out. But at the same time, congrats to the Bengals, man. They are who they thought they were, And I mean to go in there and win in the rain and stuff like that. I mean the snow. Impressive win, and give it to those guys, man, and give it to Joe Burrow. I mean, he's a leader. I mean, that guy's a leader. He's a true locker room leader, and congrats to them on winning the big game.
Now I completely agree with you on that, Carlos. I had thought that the Bills were going to ride the win it for DeMar hype train.
Absolutely.
All the way through to lifting the Lombardi. But you also raised another really good point about on Joe Burrow being a great locker room leader. I mean, I mentioned it the episode after the whole DeMar Hamlin tragedy happened, but while the teams were sitting in their locker rooms waiting for further instruction, Joe Burrow did gather up the captains of the Bengals team, and they all walked over and were actually sitting and chilling in the Bills locker room waiting for further developments. So that shows the type of man he is, and you got to respect it.
Absolutely.
The other game that I got wrong this weekend, and boy, was it
they let you hear, huh?
Interesting. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to get my buddy Ryan Solo on here during the offseason to talk about the Cowboys, because I know he's one of the most passionate fans I've ever seen for a team. But the 5th seed Cowboys fall 12-19 to the 2nd seed 49ers. Let me get the stats for this game real quick. I'm trying to figure out how the hell there was a 19-point score. On the Cowboys end, Dak Prescott goes 23 for 37, 206 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. That 1 touchdown to Dalton Schultz. It doesn't look like any interceptions were picked off from the Cowboys defense. And Brett Maher goes 2 for 2 for 6 points, longest of 43. On the Niners, Mr. Irrelevant, or should we call him King Irrelevant at this point? Brock Purdy goes 19 for 29, 214 yards. Interesting thing here is no touchdowns, no interceptions. Christian McCaffrey gets the only rushing touchdown of the game. Interceptions from Demondre Lenoir and Fred Warner. And Robbie Gould pretty much carries this game. 4 for 4 with the longest of 50 yards for 13 points. I mean, I think it's safe to say Robbie Gould's performance alone would beat the Cowboys.
Okay, Robbie Gould will be in many fantasy football games, so I like that guy.
I might have to think about drafting him next year in one of my leagues.
It's all in the kicker and the defense.
I can't complain too much, though, because I had David Carlson in 2 of them. And my third was... Who the hell did I have in my third one? I think it was the Patriots kicker. So...
Nice. Yeah, for me on this one, I'm intrigued by the Brock Purdy story, right? I think back to guys like Trent Green and Drew Bledsoe, right? Where all they did in their respective teams was get hurt, and a guy named Kurt Warner came along for Trent Green, and another guy named Tom Brady came along for Drew Bledsoe. And those quarterbacks, all they did was get hurt, and those guys took their jobs and went on to have great NFL careers. So I am always intrigued by these kind of things, especially with this, with Brock Purdy being Mr. Irrelevant, right? And either way, he's got a successful rookie year already. So
I would say he's already hands down the number 2 on the list of most successful Mr. Irrelevants.
Yeah.
Behind only Ryan Suckup, and Brock Purdy's career is still early. Still shaking my head about that with the whole Purdy at this point, hands down, has stolen the number 1 job over Trey Lance, who they'd put all their eggs in the basket for, and Jimmy Garoppolo, who I'd say is still one of the probably 15 best quarterbacks in the league.
I heard something on the radio the other day too, that Garoppolo would be able to technically play at the Super Bowl possibly if they went to that point. And that was the big debate on the radio around here was, wow, do you play the hot hand with Purdy or do you go back to Garoppolo? And they kind of had a back and forth conversation about that all day long. So
sounds like 2001 all over again with the Patriots. That sounds like the whole Bledsoe Brady. They were talking about that back then when Bledsoe was fine. I'm all for Brock Purdy. I mean, I'm a Brady fan, so I don't think Brock Purdy's the next Tom Brady, but I don't think that you can sell short somebody who has a chip on their shoulder, somebody who wants to prove themselves, and somebody who is Mr. Irrelevant. And again, stepping up as a leader on a team that has Bosa and so many leaders as it is already. I think it's gonna be I don't want to cut ahead, but I definitely see them winning next week too. And I definitely I wouldn't bet against them at all. You can't teach heart, man. And I think that guy has a lot of heart, obviously.
For sure. That's was actually going to ask that question. Which one do you guys go with at the Super Bowl?
Me personally, I think I don't want to break up the team chemistry, right? And
Absolutely.
Right now we got a good thing going on. And I think that sends the wrong message to the locker room of, well, don't bother working too hard because we're just going to have your other guy come in and, once he's ready to be a better option, so to speak. So I definitely think you have to go with Brock Purdy just for the momentum factor and then the team building factor.
I agree. And then if he wins, they win it, then they can trade away Lance. They'll team will be even stronger next year for all the number 1 draft picks they would get for that guy.
For sure. I just think it's insane to look at that. Going into the season, Trey Lance was named their starter as a second-year quarterback, and already Brock Purdy's got more NFL experience than Lance. Coming in as the 3rd seed at midseason. And I'm going to agree. I think the only way Garoppolo sees the field during the Super Bowl is if Purdy struggles in the first half.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's go over this. The championship week predictions. The second seed Niners.
I'm going
at
Niners.
The Eagles.
Oh, it's so tough one, isn't it? This is where it gets down to it. I'm going to go with my gut and say Eagles, even though I might be regretting that here a week later when I say that. But I see Carlos is now writing it down. So.
Don't worry, Brian. Don't worry, Brian.
Give him crap.
I'm actually going to side with Carlos on this one. I think the Niners in the back half of the season have been the hottest team in football. They've had the most momentum, and they've definitely rallied around Brock Purdy. I think they're going to keep it. I think the Niners are going to take this and make it to the big dance. Yep. And if that happens, don't worry. I will be hitting you up on Twitter because Carlos did send me your tag to talk as much smack as possible.
Yeah,
I live in Northern California. If I don't pick the Niners, my tires are gonna get slashed. You know,
yeah,
so
that's true.
You put it out there.
You see, I live in Weirton, West Virginia, which is basically a suburb of Pittsburgh.
Gotcha.
And born and raised in Pittsburgh, but I'm actually a diehard Jets fan, and I hate the Steelers worse than I hate the Patriots.
Oh wow! So you gotta close the blinds too, then, huh?
I'm surprised I haven't had my tires slashed yet. All right, we're gonna hit a little bit closer to you, and I think this will be the one where Brian has the instant answer. But the AFC Championship game, 3rd seed Bengals at 1st seed Chiefs.
So there's one factor here. One, I like the Chiefs, of course, right? I think, they've been there, they've done it before. However, I do think that the Bengals could beat them and go on to the Super Bowl for a second time and actually maybe even go a little further. The one thing that I am going to pick the Bengals. The one thing that scares me, though, from picking the Bengals is some news that came out here. Apparently, at the last game, the Bengals players were saying to the fans, "We'll see you guys next week at Burrowhead," calling Arrowhead Burrowhead. And I'm like, no, the minute you start saying stuff like that, the other team gets fired up and they murder you. So that's the only thing I'm scared of. I think it might have been Eli Apple or somebody that was saying that. And I was like, oh, no. So.
Oh, see, I hadn't heard that. That does slightly affect my answer on that. No, wrong button. Jumping ahead here. Carlos, what's your prediction?
I'm picking the Bengals too. I think especially with I don't trust that Mahomes' ankles 100%, and I definitely I think Cincinnati's going to surprise them again.
I can see it, and actually, I'll take it a step further.
And we get a rematch Super Bowl 23.
I'll take it a step further, and I'll say my Super Bowl prediction is Bengals over Niners.
Okay.
I'm going to look like a real idiot if neither one of those teams even make it.
We're about to make Royal Rumble predictions, okay? I think that's the least of our worries.
Hey, you know what, man? It's no worse, right? I cheer for the Browns every year, and they never make it. So I definitely.
I mean, you see, I'm wearing an Oakland A's hat. Okay, that's all you got to see. That's all you got to know.
And I did just say that I'm a diehard Jets fan, so
we all like pain. We all like pain. Yeah.
All right. Well, since we are getting ready to talk about, as I'd said, it might not be what everyone calls the biggest event in pro wrestling. Definitely everyone's favorite because anything can happen. We're going to change it over.
Ooh,
to talk about Royal Rumble 2023. Before we get into that, though, since you guys are panelists on a regular professional wrestling podcast and outlet, I want to start by asking the two of you guys, what's your favorite promotion?
Don't
worry.
I'll go first.
I think I got you guys beat with the most offbeat one.
Okay.
Mine's AEW.
Is it AEW? Okay. So I actually enjoy both. Okay. And I know it's tough to call it down the line. So I feel like that's asking, which do you like, Marvel or DC? Right. Yeah. I like aspects of both. And I think you can be fans of both of those. I do like WWE just because they have given me so much for so many years, right? It doesn't hurt to that I sometimes they allow me to help out with production once in a while when they come to Columbus. So I got to play nice there.
Oh, nice.
So that's something you can tell I'm kind of a little bit weird about how I answer this. Cause I think they listen to everything. So ultimately, I think they're listening right now, but ultimately AEW, I love what they've done as far as bringing wrestling back to some of its roots that I like. So I always tell people, if you like sports entertainment, watch WWE, right? You like more of that theatrical aspect. If you like the straight up wrestling, definitely go AEW because you're not going to get as much backstage segments and that kind of stuff.
Okay. I can definitely see where you're coming from on that. Like, I definitely respect WWE because they have the best production, hands down, and have gotten more into a era of long-term storytelling under the Triple H era. I like AEW because it's more in your face, smash mouth, and gritty. But for me, I'm going to throw a curveball here. But my favorite actually, yes, my favorite is actually Impact.
Impact. Okay.
Yes. I like the fact that Impact made its reputation on the women's revolution before that was even a thought in WWE. I like the fact that it was always, if you wanted to watch the big hulking wrestlers, WWE, but if you wanted more the athletic, fast-paced style matches, you tuned into TNA. And even now, looking at some of the things that are going on lately, like the last rodeo tour for Mickie James, the build up for the Giselle Shaw, or not Giselle Shaw, but the Masha Slamovich and Jordan Grace feud, and what they're doing right now between Josh Alexander and Bully Ray. I'm loving it.
Yeah, I'll check in on Impact once in a while because one thing I think we're so lucky to have is so much content to watch now, right? And that's one thing that's kind of cool. You could probably turn wrestling on, and I probably do every night. I love TNA Impact back years ago when there was the X division, and it was, the awkward looking ring, not the 4 squared ring, right? And then AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, the Fallen Angel. I was like, keep it coming, and those guys could just wrestle forever. And a lot of those guys have went on, to do things in the WWE and AEW as well. So it was almost kind of that breeding ground for that next generation. So.
Okay. That's
not good.
Like one of the biggest pops I've ever had as a WWE fan. Because I do watch I watch a lot of WWE and I watch a lot of Impact. Carlos, I'm sorry, I don't really get too much into AEW. But
I watch it all though. I watch it all. I'm a fan of all of it. I watch New Japan. I watch everything. If I had to pick one though, it would be AEW. But I agree with what you guys said. I watch Impact. The thing I love about Impact Wrestling is I like how they utilize their whole roster. So like I like the fact that they make do with what they have, and I really think that's admirable. That everybody's gonna have time on television. They don't have a formula like only one women's match this week. There could be 4 women's matches one week. The women could be in the main event. They make do with what they have, and I think that's really admirable of them. The thing about WWE is I love WWE, but for me it's a television production, and I wouldn't pay $1 to go see them live other than WrestleMania or even Royal Rumble because it's so TV produced. Like if I was in that crowd last week and I would have got just those 4 tag team matches. I would have, and then that LA Knight match, I would have been pissed, because you're going to be in front of 13,000 people and you're going to kind of poop the bed, and for me, like, I just think that AEW really, when they put together a card, they think about the fans that are there, and they make sure the fans that are there are going to get a good show first. And then I think that just transmits on the television. So I'm a fan of all of it, even New Japan. Actually, next month I'm going to the New Japan show in San Jose where Mercedes is going to wrestle. And then I'm also going to Revolution in March, and I'm going to be at Dynamite in Sacramento too. So, and again, for me, like AEW just feels exciting. It feels like a rock concert. So, I mean, they get my money. That's where I would spend my money. And again, for me, I'm comfortable just watching WWE on television, but I wouldn't go see it live right now because it's overly produced and it's made for television.
I agree with that 100%. Honestly, AEW, I like the rock concert analogy you used, Carlos. It really is. You're there with the fandom, right? When you do go to WWE, it is like you are in your seat and you're kind of part of that show as far as that atmosphere, right? And that's one of the things I know they definitely don't want to see any empty seats in there, and they sometimes will move people around because they're trying to worry about that TV view. And I'm comfortable saying that. Or they'll say, hey, go sit in this seat till somebody comes back from the restroom kind of thing, right? But where AEW is more like, yeah, it's that concert vibe, and they definitely focus more on the ring in that aspect.
Interesting. I've not had the experience of going to see AEW live. The one time they were here, I unfortunately was broke as hell. That I'm aware, and I've just haven't been able to catch the schedule when they've been here subsequent times. But I know WWE, I can completely agree that when you're there live, a lot of the segments and what they do does feel like it cheapens the experience because of how overproduced they are. But I think we've got enough in our background of our favorite promotions. Let's dive into the fun part.
All right.
And I think we're going to start with the weirdest one, the one that nobody knows what to expect with. But the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match, LA Knight versus Bray Wyatt. Does anybody even have a clue what the hell a pitch black match is?
The only thing I'm thinking is, do you remember WrestleMania a couple of years ago with the weird John Cena Bray Wyatt match where it was the Firefly Funhouse match, and it was just a lot of theatrics like we just talked about? I'm thinking it's something maybe like that, but honestly, to answer your question, no, I don't think anybody really knows. For all this could be a tub full of pitch black Mountain Dew and they're wrestling in it, you know.
I saw an interview with Bray Wyatt. He doesn't even know what it is yet. He was talking on one of the wrestling. I think it was he was talking on with Ryan Satin. He doesn't even know what the match is yet. So again, it's gonna be interesting. But he's just trusting. He's trusting in the creative process.
I mean, the only thing I've managed to pick up from dirt sheets
neon.
There's something to do with a lot of neons. Otherwise,
glow stick party.
Well, and I'm wondering, how much of this have they filmed already? You know, are they going that route? And are they going to, because sometimes when you're in the arena and they're just showing stuff on the TV, right? Well, that was already way done, usually earlier that day. And so I'm a little bit wondering of how much there's a filming schedule that day, which would be Saturday, for that night. And that could tell us a lot that it's more cinematic versus in ring,
I mean, they worked great during the Thunderdome era when they weren't allowed to have fans anyways, and it was all just TV broadcast. But I'm sorry, now that they have the option of having fans back, I don't want to see any more theatrical matches. What are your guys' feelings towards those, if that's what this is?
I don't think it is that. I think it's going to be a match in the ring, but for me, cinematic matches, unless it's something like on a WrestleMania card, where it's going to be something like maybe The Undertaker back one more time, I'm not really for it. I'd rather see matches in the ring. But this is Bray's first match back. This is LA Knight's first really big match. This is the first as a singles card, especially after getting his name back. His NXT name. And honestly, this is Triple H's first match like this. That's not the ones he's been given already to by Vince, like a Hell in a Cell or something like that, or War Games. So they all have high stakes in this match. So I have high expectations for this match.
Yeah, I feel I'm hoping the one thing they avoid is, remember when The Fiend was doing the matches and they would just turn all the arena lights out and just turn on those red lights. And there was some matches with Seth Rollins. He did that
with the eerie music in the background and everything.
Yeah, and they were playing music. And
his theme song the whole time.
I hope
that Saudi Arabia match.
You never know. You might get, like you guys mentioned, neon lights. I don't know. Maybe they'll include Naomi, right, coming out and doing the glow dance. So.
If they've got her, if they've convinced her to come back at this point, we don't know. But all right, the big question: who wins?
Carlos, I'm gonna let you go first. I want to see what you pick.
I think LA Knight's gonna win this match. I think LA Knight's gonna win this match, and I think that the loss is gonna drag. I'm hoping this too. I think it's gonna push Bray Wyatt more towards Uncle Howdy. I think it's going to push him more to the dark side, and I hope that after this loss, we get to see a more evil side of Bray.
I should not have let you go first because I thought it was going to be a hot take, and
that was the exact same thing.
Way out here. I see, just because of the weirdness of the match, and like you said, with Uncle Howdy and all this stuff going on, I would not put it past them to give it to LA Knight in some kind of, weird twist where he escapes with a win, but Bray Wyatt doesn't really lose. And I kind of see this as a story development that could tie into even another match later tonight or even on Raw the next night. So,
man, and I think maybe I should have went first because I thought I was the only one that was going to say LA Knight.
Oh, wow. People might play this back later going, these three dorks.
But my reasoning is looking at who's been there, who needs the win more, who would be hurt less by a loss. I think at this point, the main roster crowd is still trying to feel out LA Knight. I mean, we all know who Bray Wyatt is. He's been there with the whole Fiend gimmick. He's had his heights. I don't think a loss is going to hurt him as much as it could derail LA Knight.
Yep.
Well, I think the loss will go to more towards the character development with the Wyndham Six and the Uncle Howdy stuff. And I think the loss in the long run is going to make him a winner. That's what I kind of think,
Quick question. What do you guys think The Undertaker said to Bray Wyatt on Monday? Do you think that plays into anything?
I don't think so. I think it was like, I believe that this is, again, I haven't listened to the interview yet, but even when he was talking about the thing with Ryan Satin, I think Ryan asked him that question, and he said it was just a personal, private thing that he told him. So I think it's more just telling him to believe in himself and that it's his yard now. I don't think it's going to play into me. Again, I'm not going to be surprised if he wins, but at the same time, I think go talk a little bit. If I was there, I would give LA Knight the win. Then I would put LA Knight against Pat McAfee at WrestleMania to have another big match, and then you have Bray Wyatt versus Uncle Howdy at WrestleMania. With I think we'll get to this more. I think Alexa Bliss back in the fold with that one. But I just think storyline driven wise, this starts the road to WrestleMania for all those characters, and that's why I kind of pick an LA Knight. But I won't be shocked if Bray wins either, because I do think. But at the same time, Undertaker will take the loss anytime too for somebody to help build their character and get them further around. So I just think Undertaker was just a sense of like a don't worry that Vince is back. Maybe that's what he told him. That's honestly you believe in yourself. You got this. I'm proud of you. Maybe just tell him I'm proud of you. It's his yard now to kind of go in the direction that the Undertaker left, and I think that's what he's kind of just telling him, like take the ball and run with it, boy.
Yeah, it makes sense.
See, I hadn't really put much thought into what was said in that moment, other than the holy shit. It's like the passing of the torch moment, especially when Undertaker had him for the choke slam and just threw him to Bray for the Sister Ab.
And again, I just appreciate LA Knight coming out. He didn't back down either, and like he's trying back a little bit. But that guy, you don't see many stars back walking up to Bray Wyatt and going after him or going after the Undertaker. So I think it just speaks volumes to where he's going to be going. And I'm glad that they finally give him back the LA Knight moniker and that they're believing him. Because again, talking about Impact Wrestling, back when he was Eli Drake, I thought he should have been in WWE a long time ago.
Yeah, I always felt Bray Wyatt was that once in a great while type wrestler where, like the Undertaker, doesn't need the title to be relevant. And he's got that kind of mystique about him. And that's one of the great things about having somebody like that on your talent card, is because you don't have to push him right to the top with the title. You could, but he's going to be a talking point, obviously, no matter what he does. So.
Okay. Now, the only question I have is I want to know, am I going to look like an idiot for the way I've been thinking? But Uncle Howdy, when they finally give the reveal, is it Taylor?
Oh, they already said I think I saw it on the site today that it's him playing him. It's already been pretty much been said that it's Bo Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of what everybody on the internet's expecting. Maybe we'll get a swerve of some sorts, but yeah, I think it's a great way to bring him back.
I think it's great that they're finally at least packaging him and having him work with his brother in some fashion, because the whole time that they were there, they never really had much interaction on screen.
Yeah.
And I agree. And again, it just speaks to Bray's character too, looking out for his family. I think that's, before he came back, having a place for his brother and his brother to come back, get a second chance too, because again, Vince messed up his whole gimmick when he got brought back to the main roster. So it just speaks a lot of volume about Bray Wyatt as he is a man looking out for his brother and looking out for people. So again, kudos.
Now, do we see we've got Bray, we've got what's looking like Taylor or Bo Dallas, whatever, back in the fold. Do we see Liv Morgan getting roped into this storyline since her and Bo Dallas are pretty much married?
I originally kind of thought the same thing, right? I was thinking that, but with Alexa Bliss's history, I feel like that's the route they're going to go. And I feel like they're going to keep Liv separate because, I felt like her title run, the crowd was hot for her, right? And I felt like she's still a fan favorite in that sense. So I don't think they want to quite give up on that yet to turn her dark and spooky.
Okay. All right. I think we've discussed about as much as we need to on that one. And since we just mentioned
should we drink a Mountain Dew real quick?
Alexa, I wish I would have had a bottle. I wish I would have thought placement. I wish I would have thought to run to the store and grab a bottle of Pitch Black. That would have been perfect. But the Raw Women's Championship match, Alexa Bliss versus Bianca Belair. And I'm saying I'm surprised that there's only 5 matches already announced for this pay-per-view or premium live event, as they're calling them now.
Right.
I just had an eye roll in my brain. I
haven't found a good way to shorten that up. The PLE, I mean, it doesn't sound right.
No. But, all right. Who do we get? Carlos went first last time, so I guess, Brian, you want to go first on this one?
Sure. So, I definitely think Bianca's retaining the title here. Main champions typically don't lose at Royal Rumble, right? And I feel like Bianca is the one that they want in the main event of WrestleMania. And that's kind of what I think the WWE sees here. I do think, though, we'll get a little more story advancement with Alexa Bliss, either abandoning her therapy and snapping completely and, really just kind of going more towards the Uncle Howdy and all of that. So this is really a way to get her moved further through that, but allow these girls to showcase their skills.
Carlos?
So I'm pretty much spot on with Brian. So I think that I again, please get Bianca away from all this spooky stuff. Like this is I can't take it anymore. But I definitely think Bianca wins too. I think that she goes on to WrestleMania as the champion. I think Alexa loses, and I think she disappears until WrestleMania, and then reappears with Uncle Howdy at Mania against Bray. That's my thoughts.
Okay. Okay. So far we're all on the same page with these matches because I'm also saying Bianca. I think at this point, with the types of storylines she's been in, Alexa Bliss doesn't really need the championship to be relevant. Whereas I think they also are trying to build up for a big battle of the Goliaths with Bianca at Mania. We'll talk about that when we get to the Women's Rumble predictions. I think you all probably both know exactly where I'm thinking with that one.
Mommy.
Her or one other person, but yeah. All right. The Universal title match. Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns. I'll go first on this one because I think we're all going to be on the same page here as well. Reigns retains.
So what do you think's going to happen storyline-wise, though? Let's ask you that question.
Can we save that for when we discuss the Men's Rumble? Because I have a really out there prediction.
Okay.
Like I think that's the one where we might all have different answers.
So Goldberg's coming back and winning. I got it.
Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with that all the way.
Josh Alexander.
Josh Alexander. Dude, if he would make his debut, if he would pop to WWE while still the Impact World Champion and win the Rumble, I would lose my shit. But no. You guys got anything on the feed on this one?
I'll go next. So I think Roman's gonna win, but I think Sammy's gonna help Roman win, and then I think after Sammy helps him win, I think they're all gonna turn on Sammy and they're gonna take him out. I think they're gonna take him out to where it's gonna be where he can't enter the Rumble, and I think that's where we officially see the turn of Sammy from the bloodline. I think tonight. I think SmackDown's supposed to start, at least for you guys, in 5 minutes. I think on SmackDown tonight, I think Roman's gonna put a stipulation to Sammy that his test is to not enter the Rumble, so he can't even be in the Rumble. And then I think at the end, Sammy helps him beat KO, and then I think they all turn against Sammy and beat him down at the end of the match.
Okay.
So I feel I'm with you guys that Roman is winning. Again, champions don't lose at Rumble, right?
No.
But storylines advance. So I'm going to go a little fantasy booker here.
Okay.
Nice. Basically, if this match goes on last, which it potentially could, this is going to be a huge indicator for what's going to happen. And I would predict that Sammy screws up in the Rumble match, and which leads into this main event of him trying to make things right, and which ends up him screwing up things even more, which then leads to The Rock coming back and saving Roman's title. And he comes in and basically says, "Hey, bro, I'm here to save your title and take you to Hollywood."
Interesting.
That's how I would book it.
Interesting. I've got my take on fantasy booking as well. I'm gonna save that for when we discuss the men's Rumble match, because I'm gonna say my take on it is that the last match of the night will be the men's Rumble.
Okay.
I think the Undisputed Championship match will probably be either second or third, because I think
it's gonna be first
match. But let's jump to the women's Rumble. We've only got 7.
Don't even get me started on that.
We've only got 7 women already pledged to this match: Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Candice LeRae, Shayna Baszler, Zelina Vega, Emma, and then 23 unannounced superstars. So this one should be a fun discussion. Let's start with, who do you think is winning this one? I think we'll all have the same answer. Well, I think
do you have a final four? So me and Brian talk. Do you have a final four? How about we give a final four and then we give who we think wins?
Oh, damn. I hadn't even thought about final four, because I had been so just stuck on it.
We'll give you a second.
Pretty obvious who the main.
Ooh, final four.
I'll go first. So I think, for my final four, I'm gonna go Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Becky Lynch, and Beth Phoenix. I think Beth Phoenix comes back to get revenge on Rhea. And I'm gonna have some fun booking with the men's Royal Rumble. I think Dominic Mysterio is gonna help Rhea win. I think he's gonna be at ringside with Rhea, and he's gonna help Mommy win. So I think I think those 4 will be the finals, because I think Liv has been the really only big storyline going in, like her wanting number 1. So I think to build that character development in the match, I really see that she's gonna last the whole time in the Rumble, and up until 30 competitors. I think, and again, thinking about WrestleMania, the match has been talked about. It's Becky, Rhea, and Bianca in a triple threat match. So I think that's why, and then you have that stare down with Becky and Rhea at the end. And then I think Beth Phoenix, comes in to get her comeuppance on Rhea. And I think that leads to a Hell in a Cell match in February. But I think those 4 will be the final 4 women. The one thing I am looking for in this match is because there's only 7 women. I'm really looking for them to build a lot of characters in this Rumble for the women, and to get us really caring about the women that are in the Rumble and building some good character, arches for us going forward and go into WrestleMania season.
Okay.
I really like your take. I like your final 4. I love your Liv Morgan runs the Rumble concept. I wish I would have thought of it. That's the only thing I don't like about it. I love that idea. So my final 4, I feel like, yes, Becky Lynch will make a contest for the final 4. I do feel that Rhea Ripley will also make a contest for that, and Beth Phoenix, because, there has to be a story there. And then my 4th competitor that I'm holding out and saying is, because this person, I think, if could come back, they would have to win the whole thing, and that's Naomi. So I'm going to take the bold prediction here, and I'm going to say Naomi to main event WrestleMania with not the glow, but a whole revamped style character that maybe ties into the Usos a little bit more.
Would it be her taking on Charlotte?
I like that idea. That's actually really good. I haven't thought about where the story leads to as far as who, but Charlotte would be a good competitor. But I just think it's a way for her to shed the past character, and she's been gone long enough to where she can now do that and attach to the bloodline in a small way.
All right. I've had some time to think about it. See, I don't think Naomi's actually coming back, at least not yet. Especially looking at the fact that Sasha is now Mercedes Moné in New Japan. I think Naomi's probably going to sit back and wait and see what success Sasha has before making a decision. My final four, I'm going to go with, I'm actually going to agree with you about Liv Morgan running the gambit and going all the way to the end. I don't see her winning it, though. I agree with both of you about Rhea. My other two, I'm actually going to say Raquel Rodriguez and Shayna Baszler.
I wouldn't mind those.
Yeah.
I don't see Shayna winning it because if rumors are true, they're going to do they're going to have her and Ronda tag and have a dominant run with the women's tag belts. But you're looking at Bianca Belair being the toughest, strongest, whatever. And like I said, Battle of the Goliaths almost with the women's division for the match at Mania. I could see Rhea being a good matchup, but I think now is where they might take the push with Raquel Rodriguez as well. Especially looking at how dominant she was down in NXT. I also, as a potential alternate on that final four, if I'm not right about Shayna Baszler, I wouldn't be surprised to see Sonya Deville in that spot either.
They do like Sonya a lot. Shayna, I think, that you bring up a good point with the tag team concept with Ronda. I think they could go that. And I always forget about Shayna, and I don't mean to, because I like Shayna. I love the style. I think she fits the WWE more than Ronda does. But I definitely am probably completely wrong on my pick. I definitely did the risk it for the biscuit. But, and if I'm right, I'll look like a genius. If not, I'll just look like Crazy Brian. So I definitely love that you guys are both thinking Liv for the long run, though. I like that idea a lot. And Raquel Rodriguez is intriguing, what you said, because, her, that's a fresh face that not everybody knows enough about, unless they watched NXT. So, and that's the Rumble helps build stars. So.
And I do think Naomi's coming back. I honestly, I kind of like my fantasy booking is I'd have her and Liv start off the Royal Rumble as number 1, number 2.
Get to see Naomi with her impressive of elimination
entrance
again. Oh no, I'm gonna say if Naomi's in the Rumble, I'm looking forward to seeing how she avoids getting eliminated, because honestly, I think she's one up Kofi at this point with creative ways to avoid elimination. But
who do you guys have as surprises in the Rumble? Do you have any women that you think will be there as surprises?
That's funny because that was the next point that I was bringing up.
Here we go.
I'll take the hot take off the gun. I
Sure.
think this is the second year in a row that we see Mickie James enter as the Impact Women's Champion.
Nice.
I think her husband's going to be in the Rumble, so yeah, I'm down for that.
Wait, you think Nick Aldis is going to make his WWE debut?
Absolutely.
Oh, I would pop for that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet. I loved when they did that to Mickie last year and they actually had her in there. And they let her wear the belt and come out to Hardcore Country. That was amazing. That was chef's kiss, right?
Yeah. So my surprises I got Beth Phoenix, Naomi, Wendy Chu. I think Nia Jackson is coming back, so I'm gonna pick Nia, and I'm also gonna pick Lana to come back too.
All right, I'm gonna kind of just throw a name out there, just because she's recently showed some interest in return to wrestling. I don't know if she's at the point of being in shape to do it, but I've never seen this person out of shape. I'm gonna throw Jazz out there, maybe.
That'd be good. I think she's from Texas too, isn't she?
I believe so.
Okay. I hadn't heard that one. How old is Jazz at this point?
Oh, I'm not sure exactly what her age is, but I mean, for a Rumble appearance, even if it's a spot where you're just in for a little bit, hit a few clotheslines, and then you're over the top rope, so.
Okay, there's a lot more open space for the women's match, so there's a lot more to look out for in this. I know we're also looking at the fact that there is a third brand that doesn't have anybody already called for it. I'm gonna say we see the main roster debut of at least one member of Toxic Attraction in this matchup. And between the two, I'd say I feel like it's probably more likely to be Gigi Dolan.
I like that idea. You think the WWE can make any peace with Mandy Rose and get her back for a Rumble?
It depends on if that's going to depend on one of two factors. If she's willing to give up her
right,
whatever her fan site is. I don't know if it's OnlyFans or if it's a different server. If she's willing to give that up to come back, or if they're willing to go back on what they'd said previously, which ultimately is one of the biggest reasons why Paige walked away, about loosening up on their strict rules on social media and third party.
Well, they have loosened up on them. It's just the content she was doing. I mean, she was rating guys, dick pics and stuff like that. So she was doing all kinds of crazy stuff on her thing, and then showing the what she showed on as far as, she showed a little too much. They were well aware of it. I wouldn't mind either. I wouldn't mind her coming back. Definitely a possibility. But I think if she comes back, she's gonna want a big raise because she made $1 million off that. So depends if they want to pay up or not.
Yeah, because I like his idea of having maybe even both Toxic Attraction members debuted in this Rumble, and then the crowd would really pop if they could get Mandy to come in, even just to start the relationship of talking again, and have a spot with all three of them in the ring. I think that would just huge, right?
Any other off the wall predictions of returns or whatnot for this one? Because I know we've already said.
I just hope they use a lot of NXT talent. Honestly, I just hope if they're going to utilize outside talent, I hope they utilize NXT, and I hope that leads to a lot of main roster call-ups. I think Indy Hartwell's ready to come up. I think the women's tag champs are ready to come up. I wouldn't mind seeing them against Ronda and Shayna at WrestleMania for the tag belts. I think Alba Fire's ready to come up. I hope they need more people, that they use the NXT roster, and that leads to them coming up on the main roster.
Indy Hartwell, you just said that name really jumped out at me, because I'm sitting here realizing that at this point, I thought she'd already been called up, because they've already got every other member of that faction. They've got Candice, they've got Johnny, they've got Dexter. Bring Indy up and they can reunite the way.
Absolutely. Why not?
And I've noticed Hunter's big on trying to push back to the previous gimmicks that were successful on NXT with the main roster. So I wouldn't be surprised if that one happens as well.
And I don't see Candice LeRae as a future women's champion, so why not utilize her in the tag team division?
Yeah.
All right. Now the men's Rumble. We've got there's way more announced for this one. Cody Rhodes, Kofi Kingston, Ricochet, Bobby Lashley, Seth Rollins, Austin Theory, Gunther, aka Walter, because I hate the new name change on him, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Omos, Braun Strowman, Baron Corbin, Santos Escobar, Rey Mysterio, Karrion Kross, and then 15 unannounced superstars. Now this one, I'm actually going to go, since I mentioned I have my fantasy book on this one, that I think is going to be more that I would love to see, because I know there's two obvious answers here. Well, three if you want to count the most unlikely one, since he's already said his schedule won't allow it. But my prediction on this one, and this is the hot take of the night on this show, I guarantee. I think earlier in the night, you're going to have Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. Something happens with Sami Zayn that pisses Roman off. I think he ends up in the Rumble, and Roman tells the rest of the crew, Solo, or more so Solo, if he's in that ring when you hit the Rumble, kill him. I think at that point, Solo does go after Sami. Probably I'm going to say Solo eliminates Sami, which causes the next entrant to come out and turn on the family. And I can see the winner of the Royal Rumble this year being the return of main event Jey Uso.
I wouldn't mind. I mean, I wouldn't mind that.
Because WWE's been investing in long-term storytelling with the Bloodline, and I think it would be the coup de grace if that storyline came full circle. Because if you think about it, the arc of the Bloodline started with Jey Uso feuding with Roman over the title. I think the ultimate closure to that storyline would be Jey Uso winning the titles from Roman at Mania.
I think we'll get that storyline, but I think that'll be at next year's WrestleMania.
I like the full circle element, though, that you're bringing up. I got chills because, it has been 2 years, right? And I'm like, wow, it was all started with Jey and Roman, right? And him kind of defiant against him and then kind of forcing him into this situation. So I love that element. Rikishi posted something earlier tonight on Twitter, and I'm trying to grasp it, but it was of Jey putting that necklace on Sammy and hugging him, at the end of that jury, right? But Rikishi posted that, and he said, "What's really happening here, guys?" And he goes, "Answers, go." And I was like, why would Rikishi post that? That's got to mean something, or that's got to have some significance, because he's pointing that out for a reason. He's usually a pretty good kayfabe guy,
The act, honestly, the biggest thing that really made me jump on on Jey, like I thought about it and been thinking about it in the back of my mind for months that it'd be cool if they did it. But the biggest thing that made me pull the trigger and say, yes, I think this is what's going to happen, was the trial of Sami Zayn. The fact that Jey is the one that, after all of the hatred, all of the doubts, Jay's the one that stood up for Sami and stopped Solo from spiking him.
Yeah, it definitely builds him up as a character in a big way that honestly none of us would see coming. And I mean, you have, obviously. And but yeah, I wasn't even thinking that. And I think it's just because we see the Usos as such a pairing, right? They've been together their whole career, their whole lives. So it's weird to think of them on their own, but it's not impossible, right? All great tag teams eventually split off, and one goes one way and one goes the other. The Marty Jannetty factor, right? So
I don't even see that happening with Jimmy being the Marty Jannetty either. I see, taking my fantasy booking a step further, if Jey branches out to go main event, to go singles and feud with Roman, I can see them easily transitioning Jimmy into tagging with the other brother, Jimmy and Solo.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Sorry if I stole the heat. I'm
sitting here like in my head.
No, I like your storyline. Go ahead. I see it happen a year later. I think I definitely see them splitting up right now. I think just with how much care they took in the Bloodline storyline, though, I don't see them rushing the titles off of Jey and Jimmy, and I see them wanting to have the tag titles defended at WrestleMania. So I wouldn't be mad if it happened, but I just don't think. I think that either Jey versus Roman, or it's gonna be Solo versus Roman at next year's WrestleMania for sure. Book it today. I think that'll happen next year.
All right. So what do you guys' call for who wins this year's Rumble then?
So going back to the final four. So my final four I have Cody Rhodes, I have Jey Uso. I'm gonna throw Dominic Mysterio in there because I think I'm gonna play with Rhea Ripley. Like, again, my fantasy booking, she's gonna help him go farther. And I think The Rock is coming back. I think The Rock's gonna come back. My feelings want to change. I've had this idea in my head since last year. I think I see Sammy and The Rock going over the rope at the same time, and that's how they split the titles. I think you make Rowan defend both titles on different nights. I think Cody gets the WWE title on Saturday, and The Rock gets the Universal title on Sunday.
Okay. I just realized you pointed out. I even forgot to give my final four. Final four real quick for me would be Jey Uso, obviously. I'm going to say probably Cody, Seth, and Theory.
I think Theory runs the gauntlet. I think he starts off number 1 or 2 and he's in the whole time. He's going to have a long time in the Rumble for sure. I think it'd be cool. My picks to start the Rumble are Theory and Pat McAfee.
Okay.
Yeah, I like Austin Theory. I think he's got a good future to him, and we've only seen a little bit of his ability. Final fours are so tough to come up, especially when seemed easier with the girls than the guys for some reason. But okay.
So you're calling what was it, WrestleMania 20 or Royal Rumble 07 finish then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it happened too. It happened before with Luger and Brett. Before that too, I think they both.
Yep.
I think WrestleMania a long time ago with Brett and Luger did the same thing.
Yeah.
1994 Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Luger.
And again, I was mad when they did it. I was mad when they did it for Toxic Attraction on NXT. Because I'm like, I'm gonna save this for the Rumble, but I'm not gonna change course. I've thought this for a few months, and I think with the Rockets now, or never. He has the XFL. He's. I don't believe at the first second he's not filming a movie right now. Because he has to promote the XFL. That has a lot of potential to make him a lot of money. I think he has the time, and I think now it's now or never for a comeback. I think he's coming back.
Last time they tried to finish like that, though, didn't McMahon blow his kneecaps out?
Yeah, that was
Okay. I don't know if he can handle his blow kneecaps anymore.
Well, it was both quad. He blew both quads. Yeah,
both quads. Yeah.
But I think Triple H is in a little bit better of shape now. If that would happen.
Yeah, I just remember him sitting on the ground, yelling, looking up at him. I'm like, what is he doing? Why is he sitting on the ground? Many years later, we find out, right?
But I don't think it was supposed to happen, though. I think it was supposed to be. Everything was just supposed to be Batista winning, and they messed up the ending.
Yeah, I heard they screwed it up pretty bad. So
but it was supposed to be just Batista clotheslining Cena over, but had too much forward minimum weight and had his center of gravity too high that he toppled with him.
I'm just laughing because I would hate to be any production member that night.
Oh my God! I can imagine.
I feel bad for these people. I would hate to be anybody near that ring, anywhere near that building, under Vince McMahon's earpiece.
When he's that pissed and hurting, yeah.
I can just imagine the wrath, everybody scattering and trying to get cabs out.
You want funny though? If you look at the footage from both of those two double elimination finals, what's funny is the one that was planned with Brett and Luger. If I'm not mistaken, you can clearly see Brett actually hit first. But with the one that wasn't planned, that was a major, part of my French here, but the major fuck up with Cena and Batista was more of a perfect both hit same time.
Yeah. I remember the Brett Luger one. Of course, I was a kid, right? And I was buying what Vince McMahon was selling. He's like, oh, look, it's at the exact same time. And I'm like, oh, wow, it really is. But, no adults falling for that. So... Okay, my final four. I definitely think Cody Rhodes, right? And he's definitely my favorite to win. I think that's the worst kept secret in America. I also think Seth Rollins could be a potential to be in the final four just for the fact that there's history with Roman there and there always will be. And people love him being that guy that always seems to have Roman's number or at least can get under his skin. So those two, I think, make a strong case. The other two, I'm having a hard time coming up with, and I think that's where maybe you do put a Sami Zayn to continue the rumors and the story and the underdog aspect. But finally, I am, wondering if it needs to be an Austin Theory or somebody younger that's up and coming that is going to be tossed out pretty quickly. So I know that's a little bit of a weaker final four, but I think my fear putting Sami in that final four is I wouldn't want to risk turning Cody heel if he wins. And it's dangerous, right? Because Sami is so beloved right now with the good storytelling, and they don't want Cody to look like a heel because they really want this moment with Cody. And I believe that. And I have this moment. I believe that when Cody came from AEW over, him and Vince had this vision, or I'm going to do a pun here and say this dream of being at WrestleMania, Cody winning the WWE Championship. And as he hits that 1-2-3 on Roman, who, let's be real, has been built up to be the most unstoppable force in the modern era. And I picture Dusty Rhodes' American Dream playing at WrestleMania as Cody holds up the title and probably brings tears to his eyes. So I feel like that is a WrestleMania moment. And I think that's what's going to happen eventually.
Damn. I can definitely see them having Cody win it with that, especially with the promos he was cutting when he first came back about chasing down the belt that has evaded the family for all these years and talking about how great Dusty was, but he never got to hold it. I could definitely see that. But my thing is, I think it's just too obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely understand. It is definitely obvious, right? It's the most worst kept secret in America. Kind of my counterpoint on that, just because it's predictable doesn't mean that I won't enjoy it.
It doesn't mean it's not right, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, you want to go see a movie, right? Yeah. When you go see Spider-Man, you're going to see some swinging web action. I'm not disappointed when I see that. I feel like I got kind of what I wanted to see. So I think, for me, I am going to geek out if Cody does get that opportunity. And a little bit of my childhood style is going to probably come out in that because I feel like that's got a very old school feel to it.
Okay. I'm going to let you continue talking. I will be right back.
Sure. So, we were kind of talking with the Cody Rhodes, the dream to WrestleMania, right? And
yeah,
I feel like that's such a good story. And now you either got to tell it now or you can't ever tell that story.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said too. I've heard this on different couple of podcasts this week about, if they don't play with Sammy, if they don't get rid of Sammy, then the fans are going to turn on Cody. And it's like, dude, you got to just trust in the process. Like you said. And for me, the dude fought with this freaking, you'll never get that picture out of your head, the Hell in a Cell picture of the torn pec, it's like, I think he has enough goodwill built up to where you just let him fight. And for me, it's like, you can't fear that. I feel like it's now or never too. We're never going to have a better storyline. You've had Roman literally beat everybody else. It's time to just keep going, but at the same time though, I know Sammy did an interview with, I think, someone else this week too, and he said that they don't see him as the guy, and it's a lot of the same thing they used to say about Daniel Bryanson. So then they're starting to feed that little nugget in there, But I definitely think you got to go with Cody, and you got to trust the system, and you got to also show. I mean, this is the thing too, guys. I think we're missing this point. You got to show the MJFs in the world. You got to show the Ricky Starks. You got to show the Wardlows that if they want to come over to AEW, they're going to get treated right. And if they just abandon with Cody, then that's going to make maybe the other free agents think, you know what, FTR, whose contract's up in a couple months, you got to show these guys that, hey, this is a place that you can come and that you won't lose what you built there, and we'll reward you for your hard work. So I think they got to go the course of Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, you brought up a really solid point there, Carlos, with the fact that they're still trying to put AEW out of business.
Yep.
And they got to there's guys that Cody is connected with, just like William Regal is. And that is going to say, hey, it's safe to come over here now. Look how I was.
Jay White.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. I also feel when the WWE makes a face of the company, right? And this is something I know we don't look at sometimes because we love the in-ring product. They're looking at what makes money, and they're looking at who can I have on Good Morning America tomorrow morning carrying the title, or who can I have as my ambassador to the world, right? And that's why guys I love John Cena, but John has worked very hard and earned his spot. So let me start with saying that. But that is also why they have guys like John, because one, he's willing to do it, but two, he's got the look that they want to represent the world, and he can appeal to a mass audience. That's why they got guys like The Rock or Austin back in the day. So I feel like Cody, they can see could be that guy that they want to have on the news and ESPN, but also Cody wants to be that guy. So. And
what if WWE got sold to Saudi Arabia? Sami Zayn's gone, so they can't necessarily put the title on that guy, because I mean that's Vince is gonna Vince wants to make sure that he's still in control, and that might be the only way past to that. So again, those are things that people forget about. It's like if that happens, Sammy's out, and so's Kevin.
Yeah.
I can see a large part of the roster being out if that happens.
Yeah, for sure. But I think Cody is that company guy, and he's going to toe the company line, and that's what you want at the end of the day. Like no matter what's going to happen, no matter what's going to be thrown in him, he's that guy. He's the guy that's going to come through with them and be the spokesperson to put on the talk shows. And he doesn't want a movie career either. He wants to be in wrestling.
Yeah, and something it's crazy with all the outside stuff happening right now. with the selling of the company and Vince McMahon. And I've actually forced myself about 2 weeks ago to try to not listen to all that because I was having a hard time getting into Royal Rumble season.
For sure.
And doing stuff like this has helped me a lot. So thank you guys. But
yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Talking about wrestling is what gets me excited. And, so I had to push all that away because I was like, man, it's go season, right? We got to get excited and get ready. So.
All right. I am leaning a little bit more towards them actually pulling the trigger on the obvious with Cody because of the points you guys just brought up. I still don't know if they're going to do that. I could see him definitely earning a shot at the second title on night 2 at Elimination Chamber.
Yep.
But the other thing is, if they don't put it on Cody, the thing I thought about too is they could put him inside. They could put him inside the Elimination Chamber against the Usos and Solo. Like have him have to go through the whole bloodline to get that title shot too. So there's lots of different ways they could go with it.
Yeah, I think Cody winning the Rumble would be a little too obvious. I think they're going to take the harder, but what you just said would make more sense for Sammy if he gets if he gets a title shot as well. But ultimately, I'm sticking to my guns and saying Jey Uso.
No, and I want you to stick to that point because if that happens, I'm going to have to do something crazy on Twitter, shouting you like in a major way, and just be like, "Man, he was the only one."
Acknowledge the new tribal chief of predictions.
The tribal chief of predictions. There you go. Because I'll be geeking out for you, man, and you have every right to just put this video on loop. Prediction for like a whole
remember when
2 hours.
All right, the last point, as we did with the women's match, surprise entrance.
I got a lot, so I'll give you my list. I have a lot of them, so I'm gonna go John Cena. I have Nick Aldis. I have Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think Booker T is gonna come in. I think Booker T is gonna have a little program with Kofi. Because he's been talking a lot of smack about New Day on NXT. I also think Pat McAfee, Logan Paul, and then I think The Rock too. Those are my guys. I think all those guys make a surprise.
Yeah, it's definitely a solid lineup. I agree with all of them. I think they all could be in there. So one of my sources, and my source being me making up stuff, had rumors of a creative meeting and somebody had their ear pressed against the wall at WWE headquarters and they kept hearing, "Feed me more, feed me more."
Shut up.
No, I'm kidding. Ryback's not coming back.
Your source was Ryback himself on TikTok.
My source was Ryback.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And no, I had to have some fun with this. Everybody would be like,
I'm sure you probably couldn't keep a straight face with my slow head face palm on that one.
It was hard. I was like, okay, how can I sell this? But
I have one more dark horse too. I think maybe Gronk is a dark horse to enter the Rumble.
I either want to go Ryback or Hornswoggle just for fun, but no, in all seriousness, Carlos hit on a lot of the ones that I see. One that I do see as a real reality coming back is Zack Ryder, aka Matt.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Matt Cardona. As Matt Cardona, though, right?
Or yeah, Matt Cardona, depending on who he wants to come back as, right?
And Chelsea too for the women. I forgot about that one.
Well, on that point, I had heard that WB had been reaching out to Matt about coming back, but he is pretty adamant on the fact that he doesn't want to return to the Zack Ryder gimmick. Okay. Carlos, we lost Carlos. Oh, Carlos is back.
Here he is.
So I could see if he does make an appearance, it would be as himself, as Matt Cardona. Okay.
I don't think that they would hesitate to allow him to do that, even if it's a working relationship to start, right? Because, I never would have thought a year ago they had allowed Mickie James to show up with the Impact title. So for me, I think Matt Cardona is a real possibility. And I do think that we are going to get, I had to have my wish list. It would be cool to see a Rock Austin face off in the Rumble, but that is, maybe a little too much, right? And I think it might be wasted on a bigger moment. Or wasted on that moment. So for me, I'm going to stick with my Matt Cardona as my main. I think that's definitely going to happen for some reason.
See, I can agree with you on that one. I definitely can see another one that Well, we lost Carlos again.
I think we did. He'll be back.
Another one that I think is extremely likely to happen, since he is part of one of the backstage producers nowadays, Shane Helms.
Yes.
I don't know whether he does it with the Gregory Helms gimmick or if he does it as the Hurricane. I would say probably the Hurricane because it'll get a bigger pop, but
Got to be the Hurricane.
I could see him if on the path that you were going with Matt Cardona. If they do him, I can definitely see Brian Myers as well.
Yep.
But the one that's for me, that's my out of the box prediction, that because I've been saying, especially with his run with the TNA heavyweight title, I think would fit well with the WWE system, especially with the fact that WWE is the land of the giants. I think we see the WWE debut of Moose during the Royal Rumble.
Okay.
Oh, I would love that. Please.
Yeah, I'm not hating that at all. And they still got that kind of open relationship with Impact. It's like, I don't know what it is. It's not an open door, but it's like an open window, right? And so it's like they can come through if they want, but they got to work really hard to do that. One of my other surprise entrances that I forgot to mention, I would love, and it's a long shot, a debut of Abyss in the Royal Rumble. And he is a backstage producer, I believe. Or a talent scout. And I think it would be cool to have an Abyss Kane showdown in the Rumble match. It doesn't need to be an actual match, but just to have those two face to face, throw a few guys out and then maybe eliminate each other or something. But I think having Abyss would be, my old school TNA fan self would geek out for that moment.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was one of the dream matches for the longest time. By the way, we do have a viewer giving his 2 cents on the Royal Rumble predictions. Glenn Stockhausen saying he's thinking it's going to be either Cody or Sammy.
I agree, Glenn.
I agree. Or The Rock. Yeah. I'm still holding out hope.
But given that they had the dream match for a lot of people for a number of years, even more so than the Undertaker Sting match that never got to happen, was Undertaker Abyss. And depending on if they're able to convince him to do another cinematic style match, I could definitely see, I would definitely love still to this day to see Undertaker versus Abyss in like some sort of fusion of a Monsters Ball and Boneyard match.
Yeah.
I think one more shot. I think one person to make me surprised would be Corey Graves. He's been cleared to wrestle for a while. Maybe he gets a chance to kind of go in there too.
Oh God, I would love to see that.
Just have him throw the headset down and get up and get in there.
Yeah, why not? Have him and Pat McAfee have a showdown.
I would love that idea. I mean, if Michael Cole can do that, he can do it, right?
Absolutely.
So, I'm sorry if any of you are coal miners.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh no! Especially now that he no longer has Vince screaming in his ear. I love Michael Cole.
He does a good job.
And I like him and Pat together too. They were so fun.
All right. Okay. All right. So I got to ask, since we're talking about commentary now, who do you got? If you guys had your fantasy booking all time, who would you pick as your commentary team?
Ooh. Carlos, you got one in mind? Because I got
like from any era or any era or just current. Like, what are you talking about?
Any era.
I would go JR and Bobby Heenan.
Okay. JR in the brain.
Oh, that's pretty good. Bobby Heenan is the ultimate color commentator.
Oh, dude, he was just so funny.
And then you got Jim Ross. I mean, that would be a great combo. I can't come up with anything to beat that. I was going to include JR in my initial thought, and I can't think of anybody that's coming to mind. I apologize. It was a good question, though.
Yeah, apparently, I'm going out of left wing again here. Because for me, as the play-by-play guy, I'm taking Mauro Ranallo.
Yeah, that's a good one.
On color, let's see how he does as part of a pair because he's more known for doing it solo. I'm taking Joey Styles.
That's a good pairing.
Yeah, I like that. I never felt like Mauro Ranallo got a fair shake. I thought this guy was going to be the next great thing since JR. And, it was weird, right? Because I know there was some incidents with JBL and, it just kind of, I think JBL, picked on him a little too much. And I think it just kind of messed and created this weird work environment. And then they kind of bumped him down to NXT and then just eventually kind of out. But I felt like he was one of those voices that does make the product exciting. And I feel like he does an amazing job. And you either have a voice for that kind of thing and an ability to get your point out with what you're calling in your match, or you don't. Right. And I feel like there is a natural talent with guys like that.
For sure. Honestly, if they would do a relaunch of like Modern, I would say if they can get him to come back, I say when college football's done for the year, pair him with Pat. Mauro
Ranallo and Pat McAfee would be perfect together.
Yeah, that's to me, because Pat McAfee was entertaining as well, and he played that color commentator well. So that would be an interesting dynamic to see on, pick a show, Raw or SmackDown, right? And just say, hey, Freedom, you guys do your thing, and let's see what you come up with.
For sure. And I'd say put that pairing on SmackDown. For Raw, since obviously Corey Graves has to have a job. Yeah. He is the voice of WWE. Like, he's taken that title away from Michael Cole at this point. I say throw him with Byron Saxton, because that was always comedic gold.
Yeah. I always feel like it works best when you have one very flamboyant type character and then one kind of, that he's got a little more of an introvert. And I always felt like that meshed really well, and I'm going to go back to the Bobby the Brain Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon, right? Oh my God. And those two's interaction, Gorilla, but Gorilla was bigger than Bobby and could thump him like nothing if he wanted. But, it was like, told him to behave and sit down. And so, yeah, I definitely think, we're bringing up some really good points of commentators. And that's one thing I hope that doesn't die in the modern product is the art of good commentary. Because, much like the days of the promo and the pre and post match promos that they used to do years ago, think WWE Superstars. And I felt like that era to now somehow lost that ability to do those build-ups to your match and then those follow-ups. Oh,
for sure. Like that, as somebody that's been in the business on the indie end of things and has watched multiple small town promotions on their live streams and whatnot, I gotta say the most important job in professional wrestling is, especially for broadcasts, is who's sitting at the commentary desk. Yep. And honestly, I have done that, and let me tell you, it's also the most nerve-wracking. It's the most fun and the most fun and most nerve-wracking job in an indie arena.
Yeah, I can imagine, because it's so essential for the story. And you ever just mute it? I mean, we love wrestling, so we could probably still watch a whole show muted, right? But the average fan muting it, I mean, I know people that would get bored, and they would be like, why do you watch this, right? So that storytelling is huge. And it takes, a super fan to be able to watch it without any kind of commentary.
Unless you're me lately. Because I give him all the credit in the world. He's good at what he does. He brings the right energy. But ironically, me being born and raised in Pittsburgh, that Ginzer dialect annoys the piss out of me. So if I'm watching SmackDown on occasion, I do have to mute it, because Pat McAfee does give me a headache. Even though I just did say I would pair him up with Mauro Ranallo as a dream commentary team.
Yeah,
I would definitely be sending Pat to school for inflection training, though. But anything else you guys wanted to talk about?
I'm good, man. I'm just looking forward to a really good show tomorrow. And again, I just hope they surprise us. I feel like they've done a good job of setting low expectations for this show. But only having 7 women announced. But I mean, I'm just looking forward to them knocking out of the park so that Vince stays away. That's all.
For sure. I will give you guys a heads up, especially you, Brian, since you mentioned about the blowing me up if my prediction's right. I will not be able to watch it live.
Oh,
So
yeah? Okay.
Because tomorrow I've got a welcome home party for a buddy of mine that's just coming back from a deployment to Qatar.
Nice.
And then I got to work front desk at a hotel from 11 to 7. So I will probably be watching the replay after I get my paperwork done at the beginning of my shift, and the Peacock gets it back up for the replay after like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So if I do get my prediction right about Jey Uso, please don't blow me up until at least.
So there is a 24-hour tag rule.
24 hours. There you
go. So, and if you don't get to it after 24 hours, then come on, man.
Yeah, no, I should have it watched by 7 a.m. So,
all right. So,
anyways, guys, you've been awesome. I've enjoyed this, and I hope to collaborate with you guys more often because this has been fun.
I'm down for sure.
You want to give the Mooncutters fans a shout out of where they can follow you guys?
Yeah, so my handles are right on there. My name is Steve to the LOS 77 on Twitter, and also Wrestling Fan Incite. You can listen to our podcast. We record it at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 noon every Sunday on Twitter Space. We're also on YouTube as well. We use Anchor, so it's pretty much on any podcast platform you're looking for. So definitely love the support.
And so mine is, I know I didn't put it there, but it's at the Brian Adkins, and I have my own show called Tap Out Talk, and that's actually YouTube. It's at Tap Out Talk. But also I work with Carlos and John and Will and Heather and all those guys over at the Wrestling Incite Podcast and the fansofprowrestling.com. John and them have created a really great community over there of podcasters like us to just kind of unite and do things like this and cross promote. And what I like is it's the most important part of it is it's the positive side of the internet wrestling community, right? So I'm just going to say it, there's really no, I hope I'm not proved wrong, Carlos, but there's no jerks over there, so it's kind of nice because we can get together and communicate and talk like this. So, and Geoffrey, I just want to say thank you for, allowing me to be on your show today, and let's do this again. Let's do more work.
For sure. I might, good chance I might reach out to you guys before to do a Mania preview too. Cause obviously you guys know your stuff. So, and I would like to be able to go back and forth with the Rumble winner about who made the right calls.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Anyways, those of you watching that know me, you can follow me at TJE Joker. That's TJEGEOCUR. Follow the show at Mooncutters on Twitter. Best way to help out is to follow us, like, subscribe, and follow, sign up for alerts on YouTube at Running Force Productions. That is the logo above Brian's head. Running Force, one word.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a little weird. You actually got to
backwards. I'm like,
yeah, you actually got to point in the opposite direction because I'm actually I'm actually pointing to my left right now. But that, and of course I will be sending you guys the link after I post this as well, because I do after the video podcast, I actually do convert to audio only and upload to Anchor. So it goes across Spotify and Google Podcasts as well. So
nice.
You guys stay on for a minute after I'm going to run the theme song again real quick and the broadcast.